Hi there, I'm Daniel Flexen. Welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut ReFLEXions. We're here every Monday, 4:30 PM, to talk about the boxing that's taken place over the weekend. And we'll mainly be focusing obviously on Frank Warren's show on Saturday night. But first of all, just wrap up a couple of quick results. We saw Jose Ramirez retain two of the world's super lightweight titles in a close decision over Victor Postel. I think it's a majority decision. Haven't seen the fight, so can't comment, but heard it was very close. Another very close fight took place out in Germany with Adam Booth's German prospect Abbas Barral. Very good amateur, falling just slightly short in a split decision defeat to Jack Colkai, former WBA interim champion mixed with top class, and proved just a little bit too much for Barral this early in his career. But again, I haven't seen it. It could have been one that could have gone either way for all I know. But having wrapped those results up, we'll move on to Warren's show. We found out yesterday that it garnered the best viewing figures of any boxing post-lockdown thus far on subscription TV. I'm not including Channel 5 in that. I'm not sure what the figures for that were just yet. But it got 400,000 peak and 155,000 average. Big difference between the two. A lot of people speculating that the peak must have come very early in the show, straight after the Community Shield between Arsenal and Liverpool had finished. That would be logical, although it is unconfirmed. Also, it could be that people were switching on at the very end of the show just to watch Dubois. I'm not sure because we haven't got the breakdown of those figures. But nevertheless, it was the best boxing figures by some distance post-lockdown. So that's a boon for Dubois and for Queensberry Promotions, Frank Warren, of course, and BT Sport. So fair play to them. Although I've got to say, having watched the show, wasn't the best of the post-lockdown shows, even though it was the highest rated. Dubois got past Ricardo Snijders, late substitute opponent, who looked pretty intimidated from the off. Still fights sometimes at cruiserweight, looked a lot smaller than Dubois, who came in the heaviest he ever had. And just backed away from the first bell, really, Snijders. Backed away to the ropes, didn't really want to chance his arm, throwing shots of his own because he was worried about getting countered. And Dubois took a little while to work him out, but didn't show any respect for him, rightly so, as it turned out. And ultimately walked through him, dropped him 3 times in the first round, although one of them looked more like a push down than a genuine knockdown, and then finished him off early in round 2. Didn't learn a lot from it. My biggest concern with Dubois going into a potential fight later this year with Joe Joyce, who is vastly experienced as an amateur and a pro in terms of the quality of opposition, is that Dubois, since beating Nathan Gorman in July last year, hasn't really stepped up the level of competition. Fighting the likes of Snijders, originally it was supposed to be Eric Pfeiffer, but he got replaced after some medical issues. I don't think that's going to get him ready for Joyce. And I think the problem is that he won't very likely blast Joyce out early like he's used to doing with some of the lower level fighters. And if he gets dragged into 6, 10, 12 rounds, he doesn't know if he can do that at Joyce's pace yet. He may have done it in the gym, but it's not the same as doing it in the ring. And that's the biggest concern, I think, ahead of the Joyce fight for Dubois. Not so much how good Joyce is, although he is very good, but more so whether he can fight a top level opponent at a higher pace for, into the second half of a 12 rounder. And he's not going to find that out against the likes of Snijders or Fujimoto, for example, to do another one. We saw Sonny Edwards putting a good performance on the undercard, getting past Thomas Asomba, probably beating the former Olympian more clearly than anyone else has as a pro thus far. Didn't get unnecessarily involved, showed great footwork, hand speed and shot selection. I know there were a few dissenters on social media. I saw their tweets as I was watching the fight, just saying, didn't find it very entertaining, that kind of thing. Look, it was a relatively one-sided fight. Sonny made it easy for himself. You can't ask for much more than that from his point of view. It's down to Asomba, really, as the aggressive fighter of the two in that dynamic to make the fight. And he just wasn't able to get close to him for long enough to do that. So I understand people that maybe it wasn't their cup of tea, but nonetheless, a very accomplished performance from Sonny Edwards. Sam Maxwell against Joe Hughes turned out to be a bit clearer to score than I anticipated. I thought it'd be a really close fight, go right down to the wire. But Maxwell boxed to instruction, used his fast hands, good timing and anticipation to get the better of Joe Hughes, won by a few rounds. It was clear in the end, I thought. Joe Hughes, again, is someone that never seems to give any opponent an easy night. So it's a boon for Maxwell that he was able to make it relatively comfortable, certainly down the stretch. So fair play to him. David Adelaide also looked really good on the undercard. He now needs a step up in competition, I think it's fair to say. And we look forward to that. So does Daniel Dubois, which hopefully he'll get, obviously, against Joe Joyce. So yeah, all in all, not the best show I've seen, although Maxwell against Hughes was a good fight, an engrossing fight. But other than that, it was a masterclass performance by Sonny Edwards. So for the purists, that was good, but I can understand casual viewers not being overly entertained by that. And then the main event, pointless, really. I mean, it's harsh to say, and if someone drops out at short notice, they have to be replaced. Dubois was an attraction, as you can see by the figures. Fair enough, but it didn't teach him anything new. It won't have got him ready for Joyce, and it won't get him any new fans. It wasn't a particularly kind of devastating knockout where both fighters came out swinging and Snijders walked onto one. It was an overmatched, intimidated opponent getting gradually beaten up and bullied. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about that, to paraphrase Forrest Gump. As always, really appreciate your time. Love to get your views on this as well. What did you make of the show? What did you make of Dubois' performance? Do you share my concerns about his lack of rounds and his lack of top-level experience going in against Joe Joyce? Let me know what you think. I'll be back on Thursday for ReFLEXions, looking ahead to the European title fight on Hennessy Sports' show next week, among other things. And I'll be back 4:30 PM next Monday for the next ReFLEXions. Really appreciate the time. I think I've already said that. But I'll see you all next time. Cheers.